First cruise ship to use Hong Kong as its home port. Parts of Europe recover from a destructive storm. And a railway tunnel connecting Europe and Asia.
Good evening. The first cruise ship to use Hong Kong as a home port set sail this afternoon for Taiwan from the Kai Tak cruise terminal. Of the 3,000 passengers on board, the bulk are from Guangdong province. As Ronnie Samtani reports, there were a few hiccups this morning when the passengers boarded the ship.
The Marina of the Sea has a capacity for more than 3,000 passengers. The large cruise liner is the first ship to use Hong Kong as its home port. It's taking travelers on a 5-day, 4-night trip to Taiwan on the current voyage, stopping in Kaohsiung and Keelung before returning to Hong Kong.
Now the cruise line see that we do have the facility to facilitate big ships like Royal Caribbean, and next year I think we have already more than 60 ships is going to come to Hong Kong and use these Hong Kong facilities.
Most of the cruise passengers who embarked today came from Guangdong province, but because of the large number of passengers checking in at the same time, there were long queues. This traveler said he had to stand in line for several hours before he could board the ship. Another passenger said they hope arrangements could be improved, especially for the elderly. While the cruise terminal operator can provide up to 100 boarding counters, the cruise company only opened 50. Bronze Rong, managing director of Worldwide Cruise Terminals Consortium, which operates the Kai Tak facility, said all the passengers arrived at the same time this morning. They were expecting them to arrive at staggered intervals. Most of the visitors from Guangdong came straight to the cruise terminal by car or coach instead of spending a day or two in Hong Kong beforehand. The tourism board had previously expected that more cruises would attract tourists to stay in Hong Kong for shopping and sightseeing. The tourism chairman said that many passengers may stay in Hong Kong when they return from Taiwan at the end of the cruise journey. Peter Lam said the tourism board will be exploring more cruise markets, including the Middle East, India, and Russia. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
The Education Bureau is being criticized for overlooking the needs and woes of students with learning disabilities. This comes as a hyperactive student was found to have multiple fractures, believed to be from being physically punished at school. Diane To reports.
Emily's 9-year-old son has dyslexia and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. The boy studies at a mainstream school in Lam Tin. One day after school in April, Emily found her son wounded all over his body. When she reported the case to the police, they found out that he'd been punished for dirtying a toilet in the school. It's believed a teacher had beaten the boy, bruising him and fracturing several of his bones. The boy ended up in hospital for 4 days, and Emily filed a complaint with the Education Bureau. She said the Bureau referred the case to the school to be followed up, yet the school said because it was under police investigation, it did not contact the parents about it. And Emily questioned the school's handling of the case. The school responded to our inquiry about the incident, saying the teacher has been suspended from disciplinary duties and administration work, but is still teaching. Emily's son still goes to the school, but has rejected its offer of counselling because the hospital is already providing it. According to the police, the teacher was arrested earlier on suspicion of assault and is out on bail. The Education Bureau said it'll wait until the police investigation and school evaluation are complete before it reviews the teacher's qualification. But Labour Party lawmaker Fernando Cheung criticised the government for shirking its responsibility. He said he received 10 complaints about students with learning disabilities being bullied over the past year, which the Bureau refused to investigate by referring the cases back to the schools. Cheung pointed out that if the incidents involve a breach of education laws or policies, then it should be taken up directly by the government. And both bullying and physical punishments are clearly banned under such laws and policies. Diane To, TVB News.
Beijing authorities have yet to give an official account of yesterday's fatal crash outside the Forbidden City. The Associated Press has quoted a hotel employee as saying police circulated a notice looking for information about two suspects with Uyghur names following the incident. Security was clearly stepped up today all around Tiananmen Gate, where a Jeep plowed through a crowd and then burst into flames. All three people inside the vehicle and two bystanders, including a Filipino woman, died. Dozens of others were injured. A Hong Kong-based China human rights group has reported one of the men in the Jeep was a relative of a Uyghur who died during riots in Xinjiang back in June.
Britain and parts of Western Europe are emerging from one of the most violent storms in decades. 13 people are confirmed dead, and now the task of adding up the destruction has begun. James Aiken has the latest.
This part of the world doesn't get hurricanes due to its geographic location, but St. Jude, as some have dubbed it, was every bit as vicious. With driving rain and wind gusts of up to 120 miles per hour in some areas, the storm slammed the region, leaving a path of death and destruction from France to Denmark. People were warned to stay indoors. Some victims were crushed by falling trees. Some were swept out to sea and are still missing. Across much of the region, flights were delayed or canceled. Railways were paralyzed, roads were shut down, and ferry traffic was halted. Hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses were without power. By late afternoon, the worst of the storm had passed, but the destruction it left behind was vivid.
The bus overturned in Hadley, and you can see there that it's come off the road.
The owner of this car knew something was wrong when she heard the car alarm.
Came downstairs and I fought my way out through the front door because the tree was blocking our entrance. I managed to get out, went to see my neighbours. At that point I was told to get in the house pretty darn quick because the rest of the tree came down.
As transport systems creep back to life, the task begins of adding up the costs of this damage. And those costs will be high, like this collapsed crane in the middle of London, which fell into a building near the Prime Minister's office. The worst storm to hit the region in decades was unusual in how it gained strength. Meteorologists say unlike most of the storms in this region, which develop and strengthen over the Atlantic, this one got stronger as it passed over land. The last time this part of the world saw anything this bad was in 1987. The Great Storm, as it was called, killed 18 people and caused billions of dollars in damage. James Aiken, TVB News.
To the United States, where the White House continues to take a beating for spying on some of its closest allies. Mad that the German chancellor's cell phone was also tapped, German officials are now threatening to strip U.S. access from tracking the money flow of terrorist organizations. So, U.S. President Barack Obama is considering ending spying on friends and allies. It wasn't an apology, but it was the next best thing. The White House officially acknowledged its widespread security gathering measures need changing.
We understand that this has caused concern in countries that represent some of our closest relationships internationally, and we are working to allay those concerns.
President Obama was careful not to say just how scaled back their security gathering reach would be.
Their capacities continue to develop and expand, and that's why I'm initiating now a review to make sure that what they're able to do doesn't necessarily mean what they should be doing.
The diplomatic blunder is based on relentless leaks from intelligence whistleblower Edward Snowden. Spain and Germany bore the brunt of the eavesdropping. This is why European Parliament members representing both countries descended upon Washington. They're demanding that America get its security gathering priorities straight or face sanctions.
Of course, we are not considering our chancellor as a terrorist, and so therefore I would say they have to think about or to reconsider what data they really are interested in.
We came here with a goodwill, and also with a strong message of our citizens saying that we don't accept this.
As leverage, German authorities are threatening to suspend a post-September 11, 2001 agreement that allows America access to bank transfer data to track the flow of terrorist money. But America is adamant every country spies. In the end, one never knows when close friends or allies may become enemies. Perhaps the National Security Agency is taking a page from Sun Tzu's Art of War strategy. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Turkey is, for the first time, connecting its European and Asian sides with a railway tunnel that was officially unveiled today. The tunnel is a project aimed at boosting Turkey's economy under the government of Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The tunnel is 13.6 kilometers long and runs under the Bosporus Strait that connects the Black Sea to the Sea of Marmara and divides Istanbul between Asia and Europe. Turkish officials are hailing it as the deepest submerged railway tunnel in the world. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, whose country helped to construct and finance the project, attended today's reception. He hopes the project will remain a symbol of friendly relations between the two countries.
Aung San Suu Kyi had a busy day in Italy yesterday. In addition to having an audience with the Pope, she also met the Italian president and prime minister. Myanmar's opposition leader leaned over and kissed the hand of Pope Francis upon meeting him. The two then sat and spoke to one another through a translator while in the Pope's private library. She also met with Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta and President Giorgio Napolitano after speaking at a news conference at Italy's foreign ministry. At that conference, she addressed the issue of fighting for long-term political change in Myanmar. Her meetings came after she was awarded honorary citizenship of Rome on Sunday, an honor originally given to her in absentia in 1994. And still ahead in our newscast, 2 killed in a car crash in Tai Po. The Chinese language still a problem for many ethnic minority students. And Lang Lang named a UN messenger of peace.